Today we're taking a look at the Vetroo ARGB120 computer fan. Today we're on Computer Tech and More. Let's get right into the graphs and the data. Before we go on to get into it, it comes in a couple different colors, pink, black, and white, and I found this picture very funny. Intake exhaust. Before we get into the data, I would like to thank Mint Mobile for being today's video partner. Thanks to Mint Mobile's wireless plans, it is possible to not only switch away from big, expensive mobile companies, but also to have a quality, affordable plan for me and my family. Mint Mobile's premium wireless plans start at just $15 a month for a 3-month plan. For that, I can get high-speed data and unlimited talk and text on the nation's largest 5G network. I can bring my own phone and keep my current phone number, so you don't need to memorize a new phone number, something I have always found difficult. Switching to Mint is super easy. Thanks to digital eSIM cards, which most phones have, you can sign up and activate immediately right from your own phone, from the comfort of your own home. If by any chance your phone doesn't have an eSIM card, Mint will ship you a new SIM card free of charge. And right now, for new customers, Mint Mobile is offering 50% off their 12-month unlimited plan. It's the best deal of the year, but it's only available for a limited time. If you're interested in learning more about Mint Mobile and switching, visit my link up above or the link in the video description down below. Okay, so first we did the case simulation test. This can be looked at in a couple different ways. The scientific way would be how effective is its airflow at pushing air from the front to the back of the case in terms of its air dissipation. But what matters for you the most is how good is the air speed at its specific measurement location. So this is most specific towards air coolers. So these measurement locations are from the back of the front fans in the computer case to where your CPU socket is roughly within the case. So the 6-inch mark is representative of a small form factor case, an ITX case, but it's still a front to back airflow type design, not the ultra compacts like the Fractal Design Terra and the what's it called, like the John case or whatever, that sucks in air from the sides, blows it at the top, something like that. It is not applicable to that. The 6-inch mark is also represented by a short throw distance, meaning the fans that sit on the bottom of your computer case that blow up air directly into your GPU. The 6-inch mark is very applicable to that type of positioning. The 9-inch mark is representative of a compact tower. Think a case that can fit a standard ATX motherboard of GPU of the length of said motherboard, but not much longer than that. I think of like the Dell Optiplexes, the business computers. Then we have the 11-inch mark. The 11-inch mark is representative of mid-tower cases. Think like Corsair 5000 series, 550D, something like that. Meshify 2C is the 11-inch mark. And then we have the 14.5-inch mark, which is represented by your large tower, something like the Fractal Design Torrent, actually. So you do want to pick the fans that have the best airspeed for whatever size case that you actually plan on buying. And this measurement does matter for AIO and liquid cooled systems, but in a different way. So you still want to make sure that you've got a solid amount of airflow getting to your GPU down in the bottom. So you still want a solid amount of airflow going through your case, but it's kind of shifted around a little bit. This is for talking about front intake type AIOs. So you still want high quality fans, and it gives a good representative. However, AIOs and heatsink, or AIOs and radiators in the front of your case that you're blowing the fans through tend to straighten out the airflow, so there it matters how effective the fan is at high airspeed coming out of said cooler. So we have my control fan. The control fan is based 3 parts A12X5 to 1 part A14, blending it together to create a composite 130mm class fan. Fans that outperform it would be considered very good. Fans that are underperforming compared to it would be considered quite bad. And here we see that the ARGB is very bad. This gain in performance doesn't technically matter. The anemometer technically can't read airspeeds under 0.3 meters per second. However, sometimes it can, but not consistently. So effectively, you could consider this all just a flat line and 0. So it's not very effective at blowing air at all. At 100% PWM fan signal, we do see a very similar trend. Once again, we are towards the bottom, so 0.5 meters per second is what I consider the bottom end that my anemometer actually reads. And it drops down, comes back up, goes down again, so I would I honestly would just consider a flat line at 0.5 meters per second, where it's got very poor airspeed performance. And it's not doing it particularly quietly compared to my control fan, especially given its RPM at only, let's just say 1,526 decibels, while my control fan is at 2,200, composite, blended, and 20 decibels. How does it compare against other fans? Well, the Wonder Snail right here, this yellow line, is what I consider the bottom end of a good fan. And it is underperforming even compared to that fan. This grouping at the top is what I consider to be good fans. So any fan that's up there would be considered good, very good, that sort of thing. The ARGB is among the worst I have tested in the case simulation test. Let's move on. 100%, it's still among the worst. Right there at the bottom. These good fans are my standard grouping of good fans. I have them in pretty much every video, just as reference points pretty much continuously. And then we did noise level, and this noise level is at the 9-inch mark. The 9-inch mark was chosen because I need airspeeds over 0.5 meters per second. Of course, we do see that this fan is barely even meeting that in most of the time at the 9-inch mark, so that's why it's basically a flat line. This measurement could be done at any of the locations, but the 9-inch mark is where I tended to see the fans drop off between the good concentrating airflow ones and the ones that were poor concentrating airflow ones, and I needed airspeeds over 0.5 meters per second, and on average the 9-inch mark provided that for me. And we see that the ARGB is just, the ARGB120 is just detrimental as a case fan. So, it is a pink fan. The blade design is very reminiscent of fan designs from the early mid-2000s, so pre-2010 I'm going to say. When I first got into computers was like 2006 was when I got my first desktop, and it reminds me of a blade design from way back then. There's certainly nothing wrong with that type of blade design. However, there have been advancements in terms of blade technology to have smaller gaps on the edges and different curvatures to make the fans less noisy for more air speed. And this is what the RGB looks like. It looks like there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, I don't know, like 12 RGB LED lights in it, which is certainly plenty. Having a static color does allow for counting. Let's go ahead and switch it to color changing. So now we are just looking at the rainbow. So it has very good color blending effects due to the number of RGB LED lights in it, which allows for smoother transitions. Like I can't even see the color lines, and it's a very smooth transition. Now we're on through airspeed through my CPU air cooler. My cooler is the Noctua U12A. On the left side here, we have airspeed versus RPM. This is a blade efficiency graph. It is how good is this blade design at shoving air through the cooler, not including noise performance. And we do see that its blade design is actually very effective. It blows a lot of air. Let's jump to the right graph. This is noise versus airspeed. This is how quiet that fan is at blowing said amount of air. It is really bad. There's just no way around it. It is noisy. How does it rank? So we do see that the ARGB is right towards the bottom. It is just noisy and not particularly high performance mind. It's not a terrible position, but there are too many fans better than it. At 100%, I mean, it's right below the 812X25, but it's 7 decibels noisier. Every 10 decibels is doubling in noise volume. So it's more like 75% more noisy, somewhere along those lines. So it's just not quite there. Let's move on. So this is how it ranks in terms of its noise performance through the cooler, decibel versus airspeed. It's noisy. I mean, bottom right is bad, going top left is good. And all these fans that are grouped up here would be considered good fans. The P12 Max starts off noisy and then gains performance, but that's not the focus of this. So let's just keep moving on. Next we have the CFM testing. Let's do a little bit of explanation. CFM testing is you've got a fan, you've got a tube. The tube is the same diameter as the fan. You blow air down the tube. I've ranted a little bit. We have RPM versus CFM, noise versus CFM, and the ARGB is slightly better performance than my control fan in terms of this blade design, RPM versus airspeed. But once again, in noise level, on the right graph, it is just noisy for that amount of performance. And comparing it to the fans around it, it's towards the bottom. It's not doing that great overall. At 100%, once again, it's noisy for the amount of performance that it's delivering. So, I'm sorry, that's just what it is. Right here, CFM versus decibel rating, it starts off kind of okay, I guess, and then it drops way back, and it's really noisy for how much performance it gets. Let's just move on. Now we're on to value proposition. This is performance per dollar in US dollars. So wherever you may live, the value of these fans may differ, but this is what it is for my region. So I hope it's usable to you. But the left side is going to be noise normalized. The right side is always going to be at 100% PWM fan signal and performance per dollar. And make sure you check prices whenever you're shopping, because it may fluctuate as the prices of the fans varies. So we do see that the ARGB is actually not a terrible value, even noise normalized results, because it is only $9. It is a $9 fan. But this is, so if you're on an ultra tight budget, value proposition is your most important factor. If you've got a little bit of extra money to spend, you would compare the earlier data to this data and pick out whichever fan best suits your needs. But value proposition isn't actual performance. So just because something is good value doesn't mean it offers good performance, because if the cost of the fan is low enough, its value proposition could be very high. As we're seeing from the ARGB, its value is actually looking pretty good, even though its performance was, I'm going to use the word, detrimental. So even at 100%, 6-inch mark, it's doing kind of okay. 11-inch mark, it all falls apart. It is well towards the bottom, so it's just proof that the math sometimes works. And if you got no airspeed and the fan still costs $9, it's going to be close to zero. Let's move on. CFM testing, it is again towards the top because it performed fairly well because the fan is so cheap. Not the top value. The TLG12 is my top value pick currently. What I'm not testing yet is longevity testing. I'd like to add that in the future. Joining me on Patreon or signing up as a YouTube member will go directly into that. I'm going to talk about it in a minute. And then we got CPU air cooler testing. Again, value proposition did kind of okay. So I want to talk about this for a minute. So I'm kind of stuck with what kind of testing I can do right now. I'd like to add future testing or future types of testing. I want to get a high thin density, thick radiator to do radiator testing on. I want to upgrade my CFM type testing. I want to make a little noise chamber to get better data for noise analysis, because my noise floor is at 30 decibels and it's kind of hard to get great readings. I want to get into CPU cooler testing. I want to get into case testing. I've just got this vision for this channel, but I'm just not able to get there currently. So if you like what I'm doing, please think about joining on Patreon or becoming a YouTube member. Basically, just go directly into that. Subscribing to this channel goes a long way in helping with that. If you can't give me money, why am I? There's no other way to say it than basically like that. But I want to be sure that whether you decide to help fund this channel or not, I'm going to keep producing videos for at least as far into the future as I can see right now. It'll just be the way I can do it right now. So that is what it is. Now, this is the raw data for this fan. This data does belong to me. However, if you want to use it for your own personal use, you may go ahead and do so. If you want to use it in any sort of video, publication, written journal, I do ask that you reference me and my channel. I am the one who generated it. It takes me about 1.5 to 2 hours to generate this level of data. If you got other fans you'd like me to take a look at in the future, or price categories of fans you want me to take a look at in the future, types, that sort of thing, please leave in the comment section down below. I do ask that it be available on Amazon. It's just the easiest way for me to acquire fans right now. If you have constructive criticism from me on ways I can improve my videos to make it more enjoyable to watch, please leave that in the comment section down below. Right now I'm a little bit limited. Obviously, I'm a very small channel. I have basically no budget. So I'm working around with what I can. So realistic expectations here. Yeah. Patreon, YouTube member goes a long way. I said that already. Subscribing, thank you. I mean, like, seriously. Anyways, thank you very much for watching my video here on Computer Tech and More. Have a great day, and I'll hope to see you next time.